Alright, so I wanted to do like a quick recap of the books that I read this month. Um, I'm thinking about doing this as a monthly thing, um, kind of just for documentation and to share some thoughts about the books that I come across. I've been trying to read a little bit more, and yeah, I'm also going to speak a little bit about the movies that I'm watching every month. But for this particular video, I don't think I will have, it will be just a short section at the end, simply because I feel like I have more to say about the things I've read than the movies I've watched this month. And I also didn't watch that many movies, sadly. Um, So yeah, I think we could just get into it. So the first book is The Adult Children of Emotionally Mature Parents. Um, I had started this last month in February, and I've just had like a couple of chapters left, which I finished at the start of this month. But I wanted to talk about it because I think as I was reading this, I found myself recommending it to almost everyone I know. I think it's such a great book, and I would say everyone should read it. Even if you don't identify with the title and you don't think you had emotionally mature parents, I think there's a lot of value in this book simply because it can help you see and add language to what it means to be emotionally safe, for you to be emotionally safe to other people around you, and to also be able to identify emotionally safe people to be around, whether that it's in romantic relationships, in friendships, even in work environments. um, a lot of the time we kind of hear that term, like emotionally mature, emotionally safe, or available, or open, but we don't know specifically what that is broken down into. And I think a lot of red flags we can just dismiss them and basically be incapable of noticing them simply because we don't have the language for it, or we don't have examples for what they look like. And learning about that is very important, just to kind of protect yourself and to to also be that person for other people, because it's very possible that you might read this and find that there are things that you do, certain patterns that you have, that are actually harmful and you weren't aware of. So that's one part of it. Another point is that I think all parents make mistakes, even if they're very emotionally mature, even if they're trying their best, it still happens. And as kids, you're a sponge. You internalize everything you hear, and usually you have some kind of a wound or a belief that you've built about yourself from something that a parent or someone adult in your life said to you as a child. And if you're not aware of that, if you're not mindful of it, it's going to affect your relationships as an adult and affect how you view yourself and how you look at yourself. So, again, this is something very important to recognize and to at least be mindful of, to save yourself a lot of pain and a lot of suffering in your relationships as an adult. And if you actually identify with the title of this book, and you think your parents were emotionally mature or emotionally unavailable, I think this book is going to be very validating to your experience, and I think it will help you a lot with both kind of dismantling the beliefs that you've built about yourself as a result of the things that you've been through, and also help you actually manage and navigate your relationship with your parents as an adult. Now that you can have certain boundaries, now you can actually be a little bit more in control of how the relationship is like. You will learn a little bit of some tools to help you navigate that, basically. So, yep, highly recommended. Great book. Um, After that, I started reading Seneca Letters from a Stoic. I love this book. I love it so much that I have been reading it very slowly in parallel with other books, mainly because I don't want it to end. And I'm pretty sure once I've read it, I'm going to start reading it again, like immediately. Again, in parallel with other things, kind of like spaced out. And here's why. There are a lot of reasons as to why I'm reading this slowly, but one of them is that, yeah, I don't want it to end, but another one is that Seneca's writing he's very, very concise, very articulate. There's so much value, so much wisdom, so many things to think about. There is not a lot of filler words and, like, you know, every sentence, every paragraph, you kind of, or I found that I needed to kind of take my time and sit with it, sometimes reread things, sometimes even write about the things that I'm reading to kind of process, to help myself process what I'm reading and also figure out what I think about these ideas and these thoughts and these questions. And I found that ideally I would read one or two letters, think about them, and just kind of have some space before moving on and reading more. And this way I kind of allow it to simmer in my mind a little bit. I have time to process it, to actually think about it, because there's a lot, like, there's a variety of things he talks about. And I feel like if I just read it, you know, end to end, all at one go, I will lose a lot of the value that I can get from it just because I'm not sitting with it enough. So, yeah, that's basically how I feel about this book. And something else that I really love about it, I don't know, I feel like I really love Seneca's writing in particular, but also the fact that this is a collection of letters that he wrote to his friend. So they're not lectures, they're not essays that he wrote to be published. It's kind of personal, and you see him correct himself during the letter. Like, he would say something and then later he'd be like, oh well, actually that turned well, maybe that was wrong, or I shouldn't have said that, actually this is right, I should say this. And it's like you have an opening to see how this very wise man actually thinks in real time, and how he comes to make certain conclusions, and how he forms a thought or an idea. And I found that very interesting. And also, it was very personal because occasionally you would find him writing about, like, a rant about something that he doesn't like about society or about his day or whatever. You'd see him talk about something that pains him or feels heavy for him. For example, there was a letter where he was talking about a moment where he realized he's getting a lot older than he thought. Like, I think he met someone and, like, he used to see as a child and now it's like an adult man, and he felt like, I'm getting so much older. And this is a stoic philosopher. He always talks about, like, accepting death and welcoming it, right? And yet these realizations, these thoughts still are heavy for him. And you see him feel that, like, recognize it and feel it and process it. And, like, in real time, you see his thought process from this to, again, accepting that, he's aging and it's graceful and it's elegant and he's accumulating this life experience and seeing the beauty in it and accepting death anyway. But it's all part of a whole. It's not a simple, like, oh, live as you might die tomorrow. You actually see it in real time, and how someone gets to have this, to embody this philosophy through a very normal human experience of realizing that you're getting old and time is passing and sickness and illness and a lot of things like that. So, yeah, I just really love the personal side of it. I love the kind of more casual. It's not casual because it's Seneca. I don't think he's even capable of writing casually, but it's more kind of, let's say, unstructured, maybe. Like some letters, they go from one topic to another, and it just flows, and yet it's still full of value and full of wisdom. And he writes so eloquently. I love it. Um, so yeah, I'm like a little bit over halfway through it, but I'm taking my time with it. And if you read it, I would recommend also that you kind of take your time with it, space it out. Even if you don't read all of it, I think it's still, there's a lot of value here. All right. Um, then I read The Meek One, Fyodor Dostoevsky. This is a very small read. It's like you can read it in one sitting. I wanted to, but I couldn't because I had a lot going on at the time. But I think I might reread it and see if, I don't know. I feel like I'm curious about rereading it all in one or two settings because then I would kind of be more, um, like into the atmosphere and feel it a little bit more. And also because even though it's a small read, there's a lot going on. So what I love about this is basically it speaks like it's a story written from the perspective of someone who's basically a narcissist, and about the woman that he married, and basically how he drove her to kill herself in the end. But you see it from his own perspective, and like the twisted way he thinks about it, the twisted way he thinks about attracting her or getting her to marry him, and uh, gaslighting her, manipulating her throughout their entire relationship, and how that stems from so much insecurity and so much emptiness within him, and how he justifies all of these things for himself. I think there's a lot of books about relationships like this, but very, like, I don't think I've seen anything that depicts it very, very well from the perspective of the narcissist himself. Someone who's so twisted and who justifies, rationalizes everything that he does, and really thinks he's doing like the right thing or doing a very justified thing, while he's actually using this woman, manipulating her, and kind of punishing her constantly. But it's all about him in the end. So it was very interesting, and I love this narration from his own perspective. You get to see his thought process. Basically, it's like a stream of consciousness, basically, that he's writing, and it's a very unusual format, but I love it. I enjoyed it a lot. I would read it again in like one or two settings just to kind of take it in a little bit more. Um, by the way, I love this series by Penguin. They have like a published a series of books that kind of fit in your pocket, and you can read in one or two settings. And there's a lot of cool classics in this series. And last but not least, this is what I'm reading at the moment. This is Personal Writings by Albert Camus. So I'm still midway through this. I love Camus. I think there is no author that I feel like I resonate with the writing more than him, and I don't think I can explain it very well, but okay, so basically this book, it's like a collection of essays and personal writings that were written very early on in his career, and they were republished. And there's actually like an introduction that he writes about how he's been kind of battling with that decision of whether or not to get these things republished or not, because he doesn't think they're good enough. They're great, by the way. But I think it's like this perfectionism that a lot of or most artists have, and he explains it very well again. Even the introduction is great. He says like how, as an artist, you kind of have that like there's a specific, some kind of an idea that you're always trying to deliver throughout your whole entire career, and anything that you create is just an attempt to deliver that same idea or that same peace that you have within you in the best way possible, and you probably never reach that. But in the end, he decides that, it's fine. They can get republished, and therefore we have this book right now. And it's full of observations from, like, some short stories, some essays, some things that, like, basically is like documenting trips and traveling, like his traveling. And it's all very immersive. I think that's the right word. He describes things very, very well, like very detailed descriptions of the atmosphere, the scenes, what he's seeing, how he's feeling, what he's hearing, the smells, everything. So you really get very deep within whatever it is that he's describing, the entire atmosphere, and you feel it all. And typical Camus, there's always kind of a contradiction, there's always kind of a battle between this lust for life and this love for life, but also all of the pain and suffering and sadness and indifference in it. But they always exist together, they're always coexisting. There's never like a whole essay where it's all beautiful or it's all bad. There's always all of these things together, and there's always this indifference of the universe, and he kind of just puts it all together and makes you feel it very deeply and leaves you with it, because that's how life is, basically. And you have to accept it all, and that's what he says, like, you have to accept it all, you have to love it all, and that's it. And I don't know what else to say. I just love it so much, and I feel like he describes things very deeply, and it just resonates so much with me. So these are the books that I've been reading. I want to make some other videos talking about like specific ideas or specific topics that stood out to me in the books that I'm reading, and kind of just flush it out a little bit more, like discuss it further, but that's maybe in another video. And yeah, there's a lot more to come, a lot more Camus specifically. I'm on a journey of reading all of his writings because I really do love his work. And I don't think I'm going to be reading more psychology for a while. I feel like I've like oversaturated the psychology in genre for like in my life the past few years. So I'm more drawn to reading literature and philosophy for now, especially literature. So I think that's what I'm going to be reading for a while. And yeah, and actually one thing that I wanted to point out, I feel like lately, like for a few months now, I've been wanting to read more. And once I gave up the strategy of like counting how much I'm reading every day or how many books I'm reading per month, etc., I've actually been reading a lot more. And also, once I've let go of having to read specific genres or specific books and just going with the flow, basically just looking at books and feeling like, oh, I'm drawn to reading about this thing, I'm drawn to reading fiction, or I'm drawn to reading classics or whatever, and just going with it, I just feel much more like I'm actually enjoying it much more, I'm reading much more, and I'm getting more value out of it. So if you're feeling stuck, just let go of the things that you feel like the rules that you've set for yourself, like, oh, I need to read this number of pages a day or this number of books a month or whatever, or I need to read these specific books that I've bought or this specific genre. You can always go back to them. But if you're drawn to something right now, there's probably a reason for that. So explore it at least. Allow yourself to do that. You really like there's no rule that you have to follow. If you're reading for pleasure, or if you're reading to learn something about yourself or to accumulate experience, just follow whatever calls out for you in the moment and explore it. If it doesn't work or if you don't like it, that's fine. You can let it go and go back to whatever else you had in mind. But I feel like sometimes you're like, when there's this urge to explore something and you actually do, you'll find that there was a reason for that, and there's kind of a calling. I don't know how to explain it. It sounds so whimsical and like, but I don't know. I think there's usually something that's calling out for you in these books. So just allow that to happen and see how it reflects on you or influences you. So that's about books. For movies, I'm going to try to be brief about this, but basically, I've been kind of on a journey of watching Studio Ghibli movies. I've watched, this month I've watched My Neighbor Totoro, which is my favorite so far. It's very simple, it's very laid back, it's very chill, it's very feel good movie, which is not typically my type of movie, but I really enjoyed it so much and I needed it at the moment. And also it's very like you get that feeling of like enjoying life and the magic within it. And it's also a story about two sisters, and it kind of resonated a lot with me because it's just very beautiful. And I watched Spirited Away, which was very fun, very whimsical, loved it as well. um, Very magical. um, and I watched The Wind Rises, which was very interesting as well, but I was a little bit distracted while watching it, so I don't know, I feel a little bit off about it. um, I don't remember which else I watched. Yeah, Grave of the Fireflies completely broke my heart. That's all I'm gonna say. But definitely worth watching. But yeah, that's kind of been the theme for this month. One thought about that is, I don't know, like watching these movies, I'm starting to realize how overrated Disney movies are, and like, there's so much beauty in Studio Ghibli movies about life, about friendship, about love, romantic love, and also about love for your family and your like brotherly love and sisterly love. And there's just so much depth into it, and about following your dreams and overcoming grief and finding yourself. And it's just, there's so much depth and character and strength in it, and very good, like very interesting characters. When you put that in contrast with Disney movies just sound ridiculous and problematic in a lot of ways. Yeah, that's just something that I noticed. Um, I think that's all for March. Um, I I think I might do a video this month about something from either Seneca or Camus, like a specific topic or theme from their books. And then I guess next month we'll do another recap of April. So, yeah, hopefully this month I do a little bit more reading, and I also watch some more movies because I usually watch a lot more than this, and I miss it. So, I want to kind of, again, I want to find this the same thing of just exploring or going with whatever movies really call out to me, and kind of letting go of any beliefs I have about myself. Like, I like this specific movie, or like genre, or this specific director or whatever, and just kind of go with the flow and see what I actually feel like watching, and just going with it. Um, so yeah, stay tuned next month. Bye bye.